Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 145 based on novel. So let's start. This sudden change in the field made Xiao Yan's face under his black robe suddenly change. He never thought that the giant ancient tree that looked like some years in front of him would be a living tree. However, facing the arrows from behind, Xiao Yan had no time to make any response. Even if he turned around at this time, he couldn't avoid the key. Damn it! Unwilling to scold in his heart, Xiao Yan had to frantically run the fighting spirit in the cyclone in his body, hoping to resist the green arrows behind him. At this time, under the black robe, the narwhal snake attached to Xiao Yan's arm suddenly moved. Compared with Xiao Yan, as a Warcraft, he is always in awe of this heaven and earth. In this heaven and earth, as long as he encounters any danger around him, no matter how sudden attack, it can reflect at any time. At the moment, especially about Xiao Yan's accident, the narwhal snake dare not relax and neglect at all. At the moment when more than a dozen arrows came, the narwhal snake under the black robe twisted its body fiercely. Although its size seemed to be more than 1,000 times smaller than before, its power did not change at all. On the contrary, because of its size reduction, it seemed that even the speed of its moves became more rapid. Then the next moment, at the moment when Xiao Yan's body surface had just ignited a flame, a bloody light suddenly burst out from under Xiao Yan's sleeve robe, and suddenly smashed all the arrows. After finishing these, the narwhal snake's seemingly petite body suddenly twisted and appeared in the air beside Xiao Yan. A pair of bright eyes that looked like rubies stared at the giant tree that was completely alive in front of him, and the killing intention surged in the depths of his eyes. At the same time, Xiao Yan, who was on one side, also regained his mind and looked gratefully at the little snake suspended in the air beside him. Immediately, the look in his eyes became cold when he looked at the huge tree in front of him. Is it a living one? Looking up and down at the huge giant tree in front of him, Xiao Yan said in a very gloomy tone. As soon as Xiao Yan said this, the small narwhal snake on one side also vomited the scarlet snake letter. The exquisite body was slightly shocked. Suddenly, a terrible momentum broke out from his body and instantly fell between the heaven and earth around him. The powerful momentum and pressure directly bend the proud and upright posture of the huge tree in front of us. Compared with those ordinary trees around us, the tree in front of us is obviously a living tree with intelligence. It is also a kind of Warcraft. Naturally, it will be oppressed by the momentum of narwhal snake. Roar! Damn it, you and I are both Warcraft. How dare you choose to help this human? Suddenly, on the trunk of the huge tree in front of me, a pair of dark green eyes filled with anger opened. At the same time, in the so-called tree hole, there was also a voice of rage. Although you and I are both Warcraft, why can you compare with me? The disdainful cold hum came from the mouth of the narwhal snake. Suddenly, the momentum shrouded in heaven and earth became more terrible with the cold hum of the narwhal snake. At this moment, the emerald green leaves on the huge tree in front of us also fell one after another. Roar! The unwilling roar came from the tree hole in front of Xiao Yan, but under the terror of narwhal snake, the ancient tree was threatened again. Today's narwhal snake, after swallowing the magic core, has reached the level of the late Stardipper Emperor. However, the strength of the ancient tree in front of it is only the early stage of the Stardipper Emperor. In front of the narwhal snake, the ancient tree can't play its usual 1/10 of its strength. But even so, with a roar, the ancient trees in front of us are still struggling. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yan, who had never spoken, slowly raised his eyes. A pair of cold eyes stared at the huge tree in front of him. The look in his eyes did not show the slightest fear because of the latter's huge body. On the contrary, a gorgeous flame gradually rose in the depths of Xiao Yan's pupils. Poof! With a sudden pop, narwhal snake and the huge ancient tree in front of him noticed that Xiao Yan had raised his right hand, and his white palm was slightly red under the afterglow of the sunset. At this moment, over Xiao Yan's palm, a gorgeous flame the size of a fist is rising. At the moment when the flame rose, the narwhal snake and the towering ancient tree in front of us immediately found that the temperature between heaven and earth became hot in an instant. This is different fire. Facing the strange fire, although the strength of the ancient tree reached the level of fighting emperor, there was a voice of panic in the tree hole. As a tree, he has no resistance to fire. Although he has reached the level of fighting emperor, he has no power to fight back under the pressure of narwhal snake. Once Xiao Yan and different fire are added, as long as a part of the trunk of the ancient tree is ignited, it will be the whole tree. At that time, even without the action of narwhal snake, he will die. Now, do you still want to fight me? Xiao Yang's eyes were cold, and there was no emotion in his words. No, no, no. Human. No, sir, how dare I do it to you? As long as you can put it away, I'll do whatever you want. A pair of dark green eyes are full of horror and fear. In the face of Xiao Yang, the ancient tree no longer dared to raise the slightest resistance. It doesn't think it has the ability to resist the power of strange fire. Hearing this, the narwhal snake beside Xiao Yang couldn't help grinning. However, the smile looked very penetrating. Xiao Yang also glanced past and smiled non-committally. His eyes turned back to the huge tree in front of him. The look in Xiao Yang's eyes became cold again, raised the strange fire in his hands, and then bent his fingers and flicked. More than 10 flames fell on the ground around the huge tree like meteors. In a moment, on the emerald green ground, the weeds immediately turned into ashes, but under the control of Xiao Yang's mind, the terror of burning everything has not spread, but RAO is so. This scene also made the ancient tree tremble and roar. We're going to spend the night here. During this period, if any sound bothers us, those grass are your front car, he said coldly. Xiao Yang stepped on his feet without the slightest worry in his heart, and walked into the tree hole in front of him. After that, the exquisite narwhal snake followed closely. A pair of scarlet eyes glanced at the tall tree in front of him, and gave a sneer. Then he entered the tree hole in front of him, leaving only the ancient trees full of fear at the moment. They not only stay awake at night, but also carefully guard Xiao Yang and narwhal snake who enter the tree hole. It can be said that they want to cry without tears. In the ancient forest with luxuriant branches and leaves, towering ancient trees stand here. Among the dense forest leaves, beams of sunshine pass through the cracks of laughter and shine on the ground of the forest to form round light spots, just like bright stars in the night sky. In the forest at this time, under a particularly tall towering ancient tree and in the spacious tree hole, Xiao Yang sat in it. With the slow operation of the burning formula skill in his body, in heaven and earth, strands of tinty energy seemed to be under some kind of traction and gathered towards Xiao Yang's body in the tree hole. After the complex energy of heaven and earth hovered around Xiao Yang's body for a while, it gradually poured into his body through the pores of Xiao Yang's whole body through the black robe. Then, it quietly flowed along the skill route of burning formula. After a round of rotary refining, it was refined again by different fire until it solidified and turned into a drop of pure fighting spirit water, into the space within the cyclone. This repeated refining lasted for a long time, until it was bright. Xiao Yang withdrew from the cultivation state. A pair of eyes that had been closed for a night also opened slowly at this moment. At the moment of opening, an extremely obscure light flashed from the depths of his pupils. When he opened his eyes, Xiao Yang gently spit out the turbid air that had been held in his chest all night. Immediately, he glanced at his environment. The corners of his mouth couldn't help passing a smile, shook his head, stood up from the ground, walked out of the tree hole. Out of the tree hole, Xiao Yang thought a little. The gorgeous flames still floating in the air suddenly turned into several streamers, and disappeared into Xiao Yang's body in a twinkling of an eye. With the protection of this ancient tree, Xiao Yang was not disturbed by any sound all night. For this, Xiao Yang couldn't help laughing in his heart. It seems that this guy did his best to live. With the sound of laughter in Xiao Yang's heart, in the void beside him, the mini frightened body of narwhal snake also emerged. Hey, you did your duty. In that case, we won't accept your life. Looking at the ancient tree in front of him, the narwhal snake smiled. At the moment, what Xiao Yang thought was also guessed by it. Hua la. As soon as he said this, the ancient tree, which had been silent all night, suddenly shook its strong trunk violently, and a pair of green animal pupils couldn't help gushing out a look of bitterness. But then, it looked at Xiao Yang at this time. Although the narwhal snake had spoken, after this incident, it also understood in its heart that the man and beast in front of it was obviously dominated by the human in black robe. The final decision of anything was still in the hands of the human, and this also included its life and death. With this in mind, the heart of the ancient tree that had just been put down immediately raised it again. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang in front of him also noticed it. With a flat smile, he turned around and raised his palm gently. At the same time, he said to the narwhal snake, "Well, after a night's rest, it's time to leave. In addition, thank you for your hospitality." At the end of the speech, when Xiao Yang said the word entertainment, the tone in his mouth increased slightly, which also made the ancient tree that had just relaxed in his heart suddenly tense again and angrily roared twice. Immediately, the figure of Xiao Yang and narwhal snake slowly disappeared in the field of vision in the awe of the latter. After a night's rest, Xiao Yang's breath obviously recovered a lot. In the next few days, Xiao Yan and Narwhal Snake continued to travel in this way during the day, and continued to travel to the depths of the ruins in the way of rest at night. Along the way, Xiao Yan also found many traces left by the strong fighters passing by. However, judging from the time of the trace, Xiao Yan's traveling speed is not much different from it. After 4 consecutive days, the injury in Xiao Yan's body also completely recovered under slow cultivation. Together with the strength that has just broken through the middle of the 6-star duty, it has been completely stabilized. In addition, the strength of the North King in the ring is also fully recovered. That is to say, today's Xiao Yang, only the number of duty-strong people around him, there are already 2, plus Xiao Yang, whose strength is far beyond his own level. Looking at the whole ruins, I'm afraid there are only 4 families who can swallow their team. Finally, after 4 days of driving, at noon on the 5th day, Xiao Yang with Narwhal Snake finally walked out of the vast ancient forest behind him. With Xiao Yang's body in black robe completely bathed in the sun, Xiao Yang's vision became wide. His body flew forward again for a distance. Then, a huge ancient hall finally appeared in Xiao Yang's sight. It seems that this should be the main hall. At the same time, Xiao Yang's sight also fell on the hall in front of him. The whole hall is golden, and the golden light of colored glass covers the ancient hall, which makes the whole hall look magnificent and majestic. The same golden slate paved a wide road, which seemed to welcome the arrival of guests. Xiao Yang's body moved and his feet fell, and his vigorous body had fallen on the golden road. At the moment when Xiao Yang's body fell, suddenly, a breath full of vicissitudes and ancient times filled the golden slate under Xiao Yang's feet. Invisibly, there was an extremely powerful momentum and pressure that fell on Xiao Yang's head. Although the pressure only lasted for a moment, the expression on Xiao Yang's face under the black robe could not help but become shocked. He had to feel awe for the owner of the ruins. How powerful must it be to enable him to have such a terrible momentum and pressure in the relics left after falling for so many years? Soon, Xiao Yang, who had returned to God, stopped procrastinating, moved his body, and went straight to the magnificent hall in front of him. After a short moment, Xiao Yang's body finally came to the hall. At this moment, many people have gathered outside the hall. Although Xiao Yang's arrival is not too late, it is definitely not early. The space in the hall is very vast. People standing in the hall are like ants. At this time, many people have been scattered in the hall. These people are strong fighting emperors and can be famous in the outside world. However, now, in this relic, the strength of fighting emperors is as common as passers-by. There are dozens of strong fighting emperors, not to mention hundreds. However, at the moment, they all treat each other carefully. Almost everyone's face is written with indifference, as if they were thousands of miles away. Xiao Yang is non-committal about this. He has seen this expression a lot in the past few days. With Xiao Yang's entry, the eyes of the people in the hall also turned involuntarily. The vigilance in their eyes did not decrease at all. On the contrary, a wave of hostility poured into them. At the moment, every extra person in the field almost means that they are less likely to get a baby. Therefore, they naturally don't want to see anyone again. But unfortunately, with Xiao Yang's entry, soon after, many strong fighters entered the hall. During this period, Xiao Yanmulu was surprised that he also saw the 3 brothers in black robes who fought a few days ago. Xiao Yang was surprised. Unexpectedly, they had been hurt to such a degree that they could still come here. But on second thought, Xiao Yang was relieved. After all, there are 6 third-order pills. After all, it's enough for them to come here. Naturally, only Xiao Yang knew each other when the 2 sides met. After all, under the cover of black robes, not to mention the 3 1-star Dipper emperors, even Bai Ingnar and other 3-star Dipper emperors could not find out Xiao Yang's true identity. After that, Xiao Yang, dressed in black robes, walked slowly towards the depths of the hall among the scattered people around. From the impatient look on the faces of the people, they seemed to be waiting for something, which was what Xiao Yang was doing at this time. A few minutes later, when Xiao Yang's body came to the deepest part of the hall, here, Xiao Yang met the people of the 4 families from a distance. At a glance, on the right side of the field, on a fairly open space, the people of the Hua family stand impressively. The leader of the Hua family is naturally Hua Ba. There is no doubt that Hua Tianyi, dressed in black robes, sits aside and closes his eyes to rest. Behind them are a group of Hua family children. Let's see this light and cloudless appearance. During this trip, there were no fewer Hua family members. On the left side of the hall, what Xiao Yang saw was the people of the Bai family. Then he looked. Bai Ying, the leader, looked at it as if he had noticed when Xiao Yang's eyes came. As soon as their eyes touched, They moved away quickly. Under the black robe, Xiao Yang's dark eyes narrowed slightly, and the light in the depths of his pupils flowed. An Bai Ying, although he was silent, smiled twice in his heart as expected. Then, Xiao Yang could not help but frown slightly. It seems that Bai Zhon, the young master of the Bai family, has not been seen in the Bai family. Is it true that he has not entered the ruins? With this doubt in his heart, Xiao Yang's eyes turned again. Then, where Xiao Yang's eyes went, it was the people of the Sun family. However, compared with the first two, the atmosphere in the venue where the Sun family is located is particularly dignified and depressing. It's almost breathless. Seeing this, Xiao Yang couldn't help feeling puzzled. His eyes continued to shift. He was surprised to find that he had never seen Sun Hanshi among these people. Aware of this, Xiao Yang was even more surprised. In the battle that day, although the North King hit Sun Hanshi hard, in the end, Sun Hanshi obviously escaped alive. Looking at the appearance of the Sun family at the moment, it seems that Sun Hanshi has had an accident. In this way, Xiao Yang couldn't help feeling surprised. Although he didn't have any good feelings for the people of the four families, Sun Hanshi was a powerful man fighting against the emperor after all. As long as he didn't die, even if he ended up seriously injured, it was also impossible for ordinary semi-powerful men to be able to kill him. Even if it is a strong man fighting the emperor, ordinary people dare not kill him. After all, as one of the four families under the command of Tianjian Gate, the strength of the Sun family is not to be seen. If they dare to kill the young master of the Sun family, they are pushing themselves to death. Ordinary people can't do this. But in that case, why did Sun Hanshi die? Then the next moment, when Xiao Yang's eyes noticed an open space on the other side, his doubts were greatly reduced. It seemed that the real murderer of Sun Hanshi had been found. Could it be the Zhuo family? Xiao Yang couldn't help but wonder. After all, according to the situation in the field at the moment, the Sun family obviously didn't doubt the results of this matter to the people of the Hua family and the Bai family. So, even Sun Shuo's heart at this time also pushed the final results to the people of the Zhuo family. After all, if it was in the order of entering the ruins, the Zhuo family was indeed the last to enter the ruins. Moreover, judging from the seating positions of the three families at the moment, it seems that the people of the Bai family even came earlier than the Sun family. From these alone, it can be almost determined that Sun Hanshi definitely died at the hands of the Zhuo family. However, in this way, Xiao Yang felt relaxed. He was sorry that Sun Hanshi had escaped. However, since the Zhuo family took care of the aftermath for him, Xiao Yang naturally had no worries in his heart. On the contrary, he may also see these people killing each other, which is a good play for Xiao Yang. I like being a fisherman best. With a smile in his heart, Xiao Yang slowly stretched out his right hand and gently pulled the cloak on his head. Immediately, he turned his body and walked slowly to a small open space next to the main hall. At this time, outside the main hall, there was another strong breath. Before approaching, Xiao Yang had felt the terror of those people. Compared with the three families in front of him, the inside information of these people was undoubtedly much stronger. The people who are coming at this moment are the Zhuo family. At this time, Sun Shuo, who had been sitting still in the depths of the hall, suddenly opened his scarlet eyes, filled with anger and killing opportunities, and stared at the pedestrian walking slowly opposite. Zhuolin. The hoarse low roar came out of Sun Shuo's mouth. At this moment, the people present could clearly perceive that the space in the whole hall was trembling slightly. The crazy killing intention stands in the hall like an invisible giant beast. At that time, the hall was immediately covered with a strong smell of gunpowder. A deep and dignified color quickly poured on everyone's faces in the field. Then, the people in the hall stepped back on both sides. At the same time, the expression on the faces of a group of Zhuo family who had just entered the hall changed rapidly. They could clearly feel that the killing intention was coming for them. At the front of the Zhuo family, Zhuo Bentang, the leader of the team, and Zhuo Lin, on the side, could not help frowning slightly. They looked at each other. Then, they looked suspiciously at Sun Shuo opposite. Zhuo Lin frowned. The sudden crazy killing intention in front of him was difficult for him to understand. It seems that the Bai family should be the worst family with the Sun family, but why did the madman suddenly point the spear at his Zhuo family? Sun Shuo, what do you want to do? Zhuo Bentang beside Zhuo Lin was also frowning, and his suspicious meaning was no less than that of Zhuo Lin. Do what? Do what? Don't you understand in your heart? Zhuo Bentang's question made him feel at the moment. Although his anger erupted in an instant, with a wave of his big hand, the viscous fighting spirit immediately gushed out of his body. Immediately after that, Sun Shuor's souls firmly stepped on the ground, and the golden glazed floor burst in an instant. Sun Shuor's body also burst out like a shell. The next moment, it had already appeared above Zhuo Lin's head. His hands were clenched into fists, and the viscous fighting spirit covered him. One punch hit Zhuo Lin's head angrily. Looking at this posture, it seemed that he wanted to kill with one punch. Sun Shuor, are you crazy? Sun Shuor's sudden move also surprised Zhuo Bentang. At present, he didn't dare to have the slightest hesitation. His dry body moved quickly to one side. At the same time, he spun his right wrist and waved hard at the oncoming Sun Shuor. Bang! As soon as the blow fell, all the people of the Zhuo family stepped back, and the terrible fighting after waves raged in the hall. In the middle of the storm, Sun Shuor stood up, and then he made another crazy shot at the people of the Zhuo family. Wow! The appearance of this scene made a sudden uproar in the field at the moment. With one's own strength, he beat back so many people in the Zhuo family's trip. Even if those onlookers saw such a terrible scene, they couldn't help feeling shocked. Bastard! Sun Shuor, are you really crazy? Dare to fight with my Zhuo family here? Seeing that Sun Shuor was working hard at himself, the crowd roared again. Zhuo Bentang's old face suddenly became cold. At the same time, he also felt extremely dignified in his heart. Although they are both 3 stars fighting the Emperor, the gap between them has been seen in the collision just now. As the head of a family, Sun Shuor's strength is indeed not covered. Even if it is normal, he is not necessarily his opponent. What's more, Sun Shuor is in a state of rage, and the power erupted in this state. That's more than several times what we usually do. If we really let him continue like this, I'm afraid we'll suffer a lot. But at present, Sun Shuor can't listen to anything. Even if he can say anything, this guy will only turn a deaf ear and turn all Zhuo Bentang's words into anger. At present, if you want to stop this battle for unknown reasons, I'm afraid you must first find the reasons for all this. Stop him first. I'll try to stop this guy. Remember, try not to be serious. Now is not the time. At this critical moment, the Zhuo family, as the son of the world, Zhuo Lin was the most reasonable, and immediately thought of countermeasures. As soon as Zhuo Lin said this, Zhuo Bentang immediately nodded heavily. Immediately, he turned his eyes and looked at the Sun Shuor who shot again. The soles of his feet stamped the ground. His thin body was like an arrow from the bow. In a moment, he tore up the void and collided with the Sun Shuor who shot again. Suddenly, the air in the main hall was filled with fighting and shooting, and the residual power of terror swept away, making the whole main hall tremble slightly. At the same time, Zhuo Lin also turned his eyes. His toes touched the ground several times in a row. In the twinkling of an eye, he had appeared in front of the Sun family. The sudden appearance of Zhuo Lin obviously frightened the young people of the Sun family. However, Zhuo Lin obviously didn't mean to kill them, but thought about it. The majestic momentum spread over the heads of the Sun family in front of him. After giving enough pressure to the group in front of him, he asked slowly and indifferently, "Tell me, what happened? Why did Sun Shuor shoot at my Zhuo family?" As soon as the words came out, the children of the Sun family in front of them couldn't help but breathe out in their hearts. They couldn't help feeling lucky. Fortunately, Zhuo Lin didn't mean to kill them. You killed our young master. Do you need us to explain what you did? Nevertheless, there are some backbone people in this group. Immediately, when the cold hum came out, Zhuo Lin immediately understood it. No wonder he had felt something wrong before. There seems to be something missing in the Sun family. If this person hadn't mentioned it, he might have forgotten that Sun Hanshi, the eldest young master of the Sun family, just broke through a few months ago, successfully promoted to the ranks of the strong fighting emperor. Such a figure may be quite impressive in the hearts of others in the audience, but in Zhuo Lin's heart, he is not interested at all. If it were not mentioned in the current group of people, he would not even think of it. Oh, Sun Hanshi is dead. What's the matter with my Zhuo family? He whispered in a low voice. Then Zhuo Lin couldn't help but frown slightly. Indeed, even if Sun Hanshi died, why should Sun Shuor immediately point the spearhead at his Zhuo family? With his Zhuo family status, it's not necessary to kill a person whose strength has just broken through the fighting emperor. With this in mind, Zhuo Lin could not help frowning slightly on his beautiful face. A pair of eyes like a sharp sword glanced slowly in the field. In the end, it was determined on by Ying for some reason. Is it him? Zhuo Lin's eyes like a sharp sword narrowed slowly, and the depths of his eyes were full of doubts. At the moment, in the field, I'm afraid there is only Bai family who has enemies with the Sun family. If all this is the conspiracy of the Bai family, which turns all the attention of the Sun family to his Zhou family and makes their two families fight in full swing, then I'm afraid the treasure in the depths of the ruins will be divided less. If that's the case, Bai family, you're really scheming. Zhou Lin's voice was a little low and cold. At the same time, the momentum and pressure that landed on the heads of the grandchildren in front of them also became more terrible at this moment. In the twinkling of an eye, the faces of all the children of the Sun family quickly became pale. It was not until a long time later that Zhou Lin, with a cold face, coldly withdrew his eyes. His body turned and looked at Zhuo Bentang and Sun Shuo, who were colliding fiercely behind him. At the same time, Bai Ying, the leader of the Bai family, carefully looked at Zhou Lin and frowned. He couldn't help feeling terrible for his mind. This guy is really a terrible person. He can think of my white family so soon, but... Bai Ying whispered softly in his heart, but at the end, he gave a slight meal. Soon, a sneer flashed across the corner of his mouth, and he said to himself, "That's all. Sun Shuo, Zhou Lin can tell you clearly now that the person who killed your son was not my Zhou family, but someone else." Zhou Lin gave a loud shout, and his white body suddenly shook. After a while, the powerful momentum and pressure immediately swept out and turned into an energy storm. He rushed hard at Sun Shuo, who was in fierce confrontation with Zhuo Ben Hall at the moment. Drink. At the same time, Zhuo Bentang on the void was also shocked. The momentum and pressure belonging to the three-star fighting emperor immediately burst out from his body. Combined with Zhuo Lin's momentum and pressure, Zhuo Bentang forced Sun Shuo back in front of him. After that, Zhuo Bentang was slightly weak and gasped in the air. Although the two fought for a short time, however, Sun Shuo's own strength is stronger than Zhuo Bentang. Coupled with his current state, it is normal that Zhuo Bentang is no enemy. While Sun Shuo was retreated, Zhuo Lin's body flashed slightly, and then he appeared in front of Zhuo Bentang. Facing Sun Shuo, the previous calm on his face had already dispersed. At the moment, what he replaced was a sharp cold light like a sword blade. Even if Sun Shuo's strength is not weak, as long as there is Zhuo Lin in the Zhuo family, even if Sun Shuo is strong, he will never deal with the two strong fighting emperors on his own. At the same time, Sun Shuo, who was shocked out by the joint efforts of Zhuo Lin and Zhuo Bentang, also quickly recovered under the oppression of this momentum. Just as they guessed in the hearts of the two opposite, Sun Shuo could not resist them alone. Therefore, no matter how angry and crazy he was at the moment, he must try to calm himself down. "You said you didn't kill my son. Who else can there be?" After a good film, Sun Shuo slowly put down his clenched fist, and the fierce fighting spirit on his body was taken back from his body at this moment, but even so, the resentment filled in his words was not reduced at all. Hearing Sun Shuo's almost gloomy words, Zhuo Lin opposite was relaxed. As long as the guy in front of him could stop, he would be sure to convince Sun Shuo. Naturally, it's the Bai family. Zhuo Lin took half a step forward out of thin air. He stood firm in the void and looked cold. Hearing the speech, Sun Shuo's face was slightly stunned at first, and then the look on his face immediately became more angry. Good Zhuo Lin. At this time, you still want to deny it. The people of the Bai family clearly entered the ancient forest earlier than my Sun family. You actually. Did you see Bai Ying, his son Bai Zhon? Sun Shuo's angry voice had not yet fallen. Then Zhuo Lin looked cold and shouted. As soon as this remark came out, not only Sun Shuo, but also Bai Ying of the Bai family, Xiao Yan in the crowd, and a man in black robe who didn't know where to stand in the crowd at this time, the expression on his face was a change. Bai Ying was surprised. Unexpectedly, Zhuo Lin didn't doubt him first, but directly pointed the spear at Bai Zhon. It seems that Zhuo Lin still has a grudge against Bai Zhon's strength even if there was a last time. In the crowd, the look on Xiao Yang's face under the black robe can't help but change. Logically, Zhuo Lin doesn't know Bai Zhon's real strength, but from what he said now, he seems to have guessed about Bai Zhon's strength. At present, he can directly turn the spearhead to Bai Zhon, which is by no means aimless. On the other side, a mysterious man who was also wearing a black robe and couldn't see his face clearly. At the moment, he couldn't help pouring a dignified look on his face under the black robe, but then the corners of his mouth under the black robe aroused a sneer. Zhuo Lin, how can I know your doubts about me? Do you really think I'll be unprepared for you, hem? Under the black robe, with a low whisper, the black-robed man returned to calm again. From the name of the black-robed man to himself, this man is the young master of the white family, Bai Zhon. As for Sun Shuo at this time, the expression on his face was completely solidified at the moment when Zhuo Lin's words fell, but then his anger was even stronger. Zhuo Lin, Bai Zhon's strength is only half emperor. Just rely on him. Don't say that he is seriously injured and can't enter the ruins. If he comes in, how can he be the opponent of Hanshi? Sun Shao looked ferocious. The more Zhuolin said so, the more he thought it was forced sophistry. Do you really think Bai Zhan is just the strength of the 9-star and half emperor? Have you ever seen a person with outstanding cultivation talent who can stay in one level for more than 10 years? Bai Zhan has already set foot in the 9-star and half emperor as early as 10 years ago. Do you think 10 years is not enough to upgrade to the level of fighting emperor with his cultivation talent? Even your waste son was just a few years ago. You think Bai Zhan's cultivation talent will be worse than him? You! Bai Zhuolin's ruthless ridicule, Sun Shao's face turned iron blue, especially when he mentioned Sun Hanshi. Bai Zhan said to your useless son that day that he would return the revenge of that day. Why, now it has been fulfilled, but you as a father can't believe or admit it. It's ridiculous. His son was shouted by others one by one. Although Sun Shao's heart was filled with anger at the moment, after listening to Zhuolin's words, he had to doubt that he had a white exhibition in his heart. This video will end here.